Well, hey guys, welcome to my channel. Welcome to the stream and a new series. A new series working on this guy right here. This happens to be that guy right there. That is a Ferrari F50 model by Tamiya. This happens to be a 1/24 scale kit. We're going to start this kit here. I'm going to go through, do some stuff. We'll be back in a second after I run the intro. Okay, guys, so we're going to open up this box. We're going to do our typical thing that I do on every series. We'll go through the sprues. We'll see what's in the kit, how everything looks, look at the instructions, see what's the first step in building this thing, okay? So I'll change the camera, I'll open up the box, and we'll start taking some stuff out, okay? Let's do that. Let's move some things out of the way here on my messy desk so we got a nice clean start to look at here. Let's open this up. All right. This is obviously an older kit that has been opened previously, as you can tell by the yellow or almost brown instruction book. And right on top, of course, we have our chrome parts. Although they look not super chrome-ish, they're almost like a highly polished aluminum, is what I would say they look like. They're not like super chromy. You know what I mean? They're not chromy, but they're close. To me, obviously didn't go for a super chrome look on this. It's more like a polished aluminum look. Very nice, very nice. Let's put this aside. Okay, I'll take the instruction booklet and we'll put it over here. We have a decal sheet. Let's have a look at this. Looks like the bag is partially opened. There we go. Let's see here. Looks like, I'm not sure, this almost is kind of a brownish color. Okay, on the camera you can see it. It's not quite, I think what they're trying to go for, I think they're trying to go for carbon fiber in this look, which, you know, the camera is looking pretty good, but it's, when you look at it in real life, it doesn't really look like carbon fiber, but it's close. We've got instrument cluster here for the dash right there, and a couple of Ferrari emblems. Yeah, all right, so that's that. Let's put this aside. Now this kit, of course, as you can tell by the box right here, this is the yellow version of this car, but I will admit, I kind of cheated. I've already opened this box up, and I gave all the yellow parts a very light coat of white primer. So they don't quite look the way they did straight out of the box. I kind of cheated a little bit, guys. Sorry, this isn't how yours is going to appear. Of course, this is an older kit, so you're going to be buying this on eBay anyway, so who knows? Maybe they painted it purple. You never know, right? Okay, so here's a sprue with some parts on it. Obviously, these are a slight shade of off-white now because of the yellow sprue underneath. But we've got our rear wing here, the roof. This looks like the little section behind our seats. Looks like front bumper. An I don't know part, and a couple of seats. Looks like a sway bar and some, I don't know, air intakes for the sides maybe, something like that. Yeah, that's what we got for that one. And then, of course, we have the main body. This right here. There's a nice coat of white primer on it, but yeah, I did the underside too. Of course, you have to do the underside. So yeah, she looks good. It's a nice mold. Not bad. The rear bumper is all part of it, so that's nice. That's a cool feature. Okay. We have a little bag of tires and some, looks like some poly caps in the bag also. There's some fat, low profile tires, that's for sure. Okay, that's those. Let's put those aside. I've got another decal sheet here. Oh, these are, what do they call these kind of they're not stickers, well, they sort of are, but you gotta press them down. You gotta take like an eraser or something and rub them on. I've seen that in some Gundam kits. They have these type of decals. And in fact, if you watch my series on the Porsche 911s, we got this on the rear seat. And then we've got some nice chrome stickers for our mirrors. So those are nice. So we don't have to worry about the paint. We've got our clear sprue, windshield, rear window. Oh, we've got, yeah, the rear window. It's actually, we have two options for the windshield. We have a windshield, and then we've got windshield with the side windows, with the windows up. So we have options with that. And then of course we've got the big clear hood that to display our Ferrari engine, of course. Looks like our panel for the tail lights and headlight lenses, fun stuff like that. This I believe is our rear window. And headlights, lenses, another panel here. Yeah, not bad. I like to leave them in the bag because, you know, you never know, something might, you know, get put down on there and might scratch the plastic. So you don't want to, that's why they put them in bags, right? They don't want to scratch the plastic. And one more sprue, the big sprue. Now this was molded in black, as you could tell by the edge here where I didn't prime, but I did give this all a nice light coat of primer, so that's why this looks the way it does. This is basically the other sprue with everything else on it. Oh, you can see I didn't primer this side, so I got to primer this side still. But we've got our engines and our door panels, our interior bucket, brakes, cooling fans, the main floor pan, dashboard. There's basically every other part of the car. Everything that's not the body is on one big sprue here. So there we go. So I'm curious, does Tamiya have us go through and build the engine first in this? Because I've noticed in some Tamiya kits that the engine is not the first thing we do. If you build a Revell kit or a AMT or, you know, Monogram, if you've got an older kit, it's always about building the engine first. But Tamiya's kits, a lot of times the engine is not the big focus. And so the engine is not necessarily the first thing that you build. So we have our instructions here. I'm just trying to see if there's a year. 1988. 1998. That's how old this kit is. 27, almost 28 years old. Wow. Okay. And of course, 90% of it's in Japanese. So, as I figured, step number one is doing our brakes and doing all this. But this requires a lot of detail painting that I need to get done first before we start assembling all this stuff. And the detail painting is not something I normally put out on my videos because, well, do you really want to sit and watch me for 10 minutes painting brake rotors and calipers? Is that what you want to watch? You know, and I mean, honestly, let me know in the comments down below if that's really what you want to watch me do. If you want to watch me brush paint, let me know. And maybe I'll include that in my videos. But otherwise, I'd rather focus on showing you guys how to build the kit, how it goes together. Even though this might not be something that's all that popular now, maybe you do it in the future, just like me. I didn't build one of these in 98. Building one now, though, you never know, right? So, this is basically where I'm going to end it for now. And we're going to come back a little bit later once I've got everything all painted, and we'll continue on this video, okay? So, we'll see you guys in a little while.
Day 2.
Okay, so we're back, guys. We're back. And as you can see, I've been busy. It's even been a day. I've been doing a lot of spray painting, a lot of detail painting, brush painting, all kinds of stuff. Just to get to a point where we can do some assembly on this stuff and I don't have to try and paint it while it's assembled. So let's change the camera and let's actually put a couple of things together, okay? All right, let's see here. Where's my camera? There we go. Okay. All right, so here we are. As you can see, we've got some parts here. We're going to go to step 1, which involves our brakes and our, I guess you could say, our spindle assemblies. So I already have the brakes taken off. So here's our front brakes. Okay, here's our front brakes with our slotted rotor or our drilled rotors, and then a nice red calipers. Okay, we're going to need the polycaps, and we're going to need A42 and A43. All right, so let's find those parts. So 42 and 43, they're down over here. Okay, so let's take 42 off of here first. Okay, there's 42. And now we need the polycaps, which means I gotta dig in the bag. Polycaps, of course, are in the bag with the tires. And typical Tamiya, using staples on their bags. I don't know why. You know, Tamiya could very easily use heat pressing to seal the bags instead of staples, but they choose not to. I don't know why. I guess they feel like staples are cheap enough. They're disposable, whatever. I gotta get a polycap out. I don't want to get the tire out. There's a polycap. Okay, let's just fold this back up, put it back in the box so we don't lose the polycaps. All right, so my part that I took off of here is right here. This is number 42. And so we're going to take A42 and have it in this position. Okay. Take a polycap and put it in one of our rotors in the back here. Now the rotor has a little bit of a notch right in the back there. I'm guessing that's going to line up with a little tab on the back of this. And so that's going to go, they're only going to go in one way, and that's how they're going to go, just like that. Okay, so let's get some glue. Let's put this back on here. Into the position it needs to be. Right there. Hold on to that. A nice general amount of glue in there. And there we go. So there's one. Okay, let's get the second one assembled. Okay, so let's need where'd my sprue go? My sprue's here. This is A43. Go. Okay. Polycap and a rotor. Now don't get these confused with your rear rotors. Your rear rotors, they have the parking brake caliper on them. Okay, so be mindful of those. They are different. They very well may have the same. They do have a slot in them too, but they are a bigger slot. So if you are accidentally putting it on, and you put this in here, it actually does, it fits, and it actually fits nice and tight. So you could potentially put the wrong rotors on, but you don't want to, okay? So just pay attention to what I said. Your parking brake calipers are on the rear. Okay. And in fact, this one doesn't want to fit in here. Why doesn't this one want to fit? This is A43. This is the correct rotor. But the notch in the rotor doesn't want to fit. Unless I have these backwards. Did I put this one on backwards? I'm going to have to pull this apart. Oh, that is correct. So you even have to pay attention. We've got lefts and rights on our rotors. So you see that little notch right in there? Okay. On the other rotor, on this rotor, it's a little bit wider. See that? It's a little bit wider. So you got a skinny one and a wide one. That is, I call that precise. I'm gonna make sure this lines up now. And I gotta put a pulley cap in there. Okay. This lined up. So as I'm talking about how you can get the front and rear mixed up, well, you can get your lefts and rights mixed up too. Okay, so that one's done. And how about that? This one fits now. All right. Okay, our front rotors are on their spindles. So the other part of step one here, and they show here down at the bottom, it says, if you got a gray arrow, you do not cement. If you got the black arrow, you do the number of decals to apply. So there are some things where you have, like on the instructions, you've got like this right here, that arrow there. That tells you that's a decal they want you to put on in the center console here, right? But we're going to flip this, our bucket over. I have this painted. So I've done the semi-gloss on the suspension like they call for, and on the front, and there are, I guess this is our lower radiator. But then in the inside and the interior, I got the NATO black on there. That gives a good black color that still allows for the detail to pop out, right? And so that's why I like the NATO black instead of just going with a flat black. The NATO black is very, very good. Okay, so we're going to flip our bucket over here. We're going to move our brake rotors. I need to move a few things out of my way here. Let's just switch these things over to the table behind me. Now, as you guys know, as you can tell by the picture here, this thing is the yellow version of the car, and they were kind enough to mold everything in yellow. If I take this seat and I flip it over, you can see it was molded in yellow. So we had two colors, molded in black and molded in yellow. And of course we have our chrome, our chrome sprue here like this. But I'm not going for yellow with this car. We're going for white. This car is going to be white, hence the color of the seats here. So here's just a little preview of the body. Okay, we've got it in white. Now, in order to get white on there, I tell you, I must have like 10 coats of paint on this thing to get to cover. Okay, so we've got our bucket. We're going to put our wheels on, our lefts and rights, and then we're going to put the suspension and our steering rods in. And we've got a little sway bar that's got to go in. So I have this piece already taken off. This is A3. That's already taken off the sprue. I took it off so I could paint it. I have my steering rod already taken off. That's this guy here. And that's A44. So he's ready. And so I just need to get this tie rod here. This is B1. And I think I have that on a separate sprue. And that is this one here. That's number 1. That's this guy right here. He was on the same sprue as the body. This that. There we go. Oh, it prefers to be on the floor. There we go. All right, so we've got to take our wheels here, and we've got to determine our lefts and our rights. So how do we determine our lefts and rights? Our steering's, our little connection for the steering, that should be facing downwards when we're looking at it like this. So that's going to make this one, and also our caliper should be facing the back of the car, and the steering rod facing the front. So that's how that's going to happen. Now we got to take this guy, and he seems to be, I've had this problem before with my Porsche, the Tamiya Porsches we built. And we put it all together the way it looked like in the instructions, but then it turned out to be upside down completely. So it looks like our steering rod is supposed to have our outer rods going down, and that's how these are. They're not straight. So if I have our little hooks facing this way, then this is down, okay? And so that would go like this, I think. So if I take this wheel, put them on there, I think our steering rod's actually going to travel through our little channel here. Now, I could be wrong. It could be going up. No, it's going down. So that's perfect. Okay. But I believe our steering rods are going to snap onto here. They're just going to click, and we're going to click onto there and not be glued. So I want to be careful. There we go. So there's that. Okay, there's that on there. And I'm going to do the same with our other one and kind of make a little bit of an assembly here. There we go. Nice. Okay, now we can line these up. Now if I do that, see, that is correct the way I've got it, but it wants to kind of hit, but that's okay, I guess. It's not that big of a deal. Okay, so then we have to have this, our sway bar has to go onto this guy. So if I put him like this, our sway bar goes like this. Okay, so flip them over so I can line up our pegs and our holes. Like that and that. Okay, so he's going to go in like this. Okay. And we can glue that on. All right, so that's glued on, and now this can go on here. So I'm going to line it up. That and like that. And it seems to just fit in the channel there absolutely perfectly. So we'll add some glue down in here where we got contact. Get on the back side here too. I suppose a nice thing about everything being gloss black or it's actually a semi-gloss. What it is, it's calling for everything, all the suspension parts to be semi-gloss black, okay? And semi-gloss black, I chose my X1, and I put my X1 in my airbrush, and I painted and I sprayed it on fairly heavy, because the X1 I find is not like a super gloss black, even though it's, you know, kind of supposed to be. It's not, definitely not flat black, but it's not super glossy either. So I find the X1, to me as X1 black, is actually a pretty good semi-gloss. Even though to me it does make a separate paint color, a separate one for semi-gloss black. But X1 works good for me. Okay, so we'll let this sit for a little bit before we play with it anymore. If I hold it, we've got functional steering. That's a nice little feature. I like that. Okay, so that concludes step number 1, except for a decal that's supposed to go on the inside of the bucket. And then they want a combination of color painted in here. XF20, 7 parts of that to 1 part of X16. XF20 is a medium gray, and X16 is a purple. That is a really strange color, and they want that on the back wall. I guess, you know, in the Ferrari, with it being a rear engine, I guess the back seat wall is technically your firewall, right? We're normally on a, say, a North American car with the front engine, your where your feet go, you've got that wall, and that's your firewall there. But yeah. Anyway, so that is that. There's our interior bucket. That's it. So let's look at our yellow booklet here and see what step number 2 involves. Step number 2, we're going to put a couple of things into our interior. So we have our front suspension piece that's going to go across here. And we've got all our nice little color callouts and what it's all supposed to be painted. And I have already painted that. Just grab that here. This is part number A12. So that's our front suspension, our front spring. That's going to go in on the front. We've got our pedals that got to go in on the front floor there. We've got our emergency brake, and we've got our shifter. But I'm not going to bother with the shifter yet, because obviously we're supposed to put a decal in along here. And I'm pretty sure that decal is probably one of the carbon fiber things. So let's, I can put in this, I can grab my pedals. Pedals are part number A33. I have those painted up ready to go here. And that's these guys here. Doink. Okay. And our emergency brake handle is also on here. And that's this guy here. Okay, so our pedals, let's do these. Here's our pedals, nice aluminum pedals. Okay. And they are going to go in that slot right there. So if I can get them into their slot, and the hole goes right through the bottom, so I can glue them from the bottom, and I don't have to worry about any glue seepage on the interior, which is nice. So we just got to get these guys put in here. Typical Tamiya with their tight fit. There we go. So hold those in place. And you can see the peg now sticking through the floor a little bit there. There we go. So pedals are glued in where they belong. Now we have our suspension. I don't think there's like a front and a rear and way this is supposed to go. This is going to have those go down. They actually are little rods that are sticking down here. It looks like they're going to go into little holes down in the bottom there like that and line that up. So this is going to be fun to run those through where they're supposed to. One side's lined up. Gotta have to line this all up in 3 places at once. Although I got that done, I have to pull this back out. Go. That's got to line up in the hole there. There we go. Okay. So that's where that sits. Now it would be nice to be able to get my glue down in there rather than trying to glue here. It's a little bit unfortunate because once we put this car together, I don't think this is even going to be seen. I don't think that our suspension is even going to be visible. If I just quickly grab the body here and just have a quick little look, I may have painted all this suspension for nothing. Because if this goes in, there's going to be just a quick little mock-up here. It's going to be roughly right in that spot there, right? I can't even see the suspension. I won't be able to see you won't be able to see the shocks. I suppose, in between the tire maybe, but we've got a floor pan. Hold on. This is going to sit in here. I'm guessing that's where that lines up there and there. Okay. So this sits like this. And then she all goes in to the body. Kind of like so. And there's really not much visible under there, is there? I mean, you put a tire in there. Let's put a General E tire now. It's not really going to be visible. So even if I put a big glob of glue on there, it's not really going to affect much. That don't affect it much. No. So let's just glue this down, shall we? Right there. It is touching on the sides here too, so we'll do that. And where it's coming through here and here, let's be very carefully. There we go. Okay. So that is it. Last, we've got our little tiny parking brake lever, affectionately called emergency brake lever. I believe it sits in that spot there. Or it sits in this rectangle. There's 2 rectangular slots here. and I don't know which one it's supposed to go in. They show it going into that one. Okay, so it goes into the left one, the driver's side one, right here. So I'm going to do something I don't normally do. Normally, I put glue on and let the capillary action do its thing. But this time we're going to put this part in here. I'm going to have to touch up the paint on them, but that's okay. There we go. Our emergency brake is in. Okay, so I want to take a look at the decal. We're going to get going here pretty soon. I want to take a look at the decal number 4 that we're supposed to put on, because that's got to go on, and then we've got one of those nice little rub decal things that go for your shifter. Okay. So let's look at the decal number 4 and see what that is. Decal number 4 is this guy here. So it's like a kind of a brownish carbon fiber wrap. I'm going to have to apply that over our center console before I can do anything else. So that is something that I'm going to do. I'll do that off camera. I'm going to do that, and we'll come back next time where we'll continue on with this stuff. I'll have a couple of more things I still need to paint up, so like our door panels that go on the interior there. Interior door panels need to be painted up nicely so that they're ready to get installed. Bunch of little more detail stuff like that, right? And then we can move on. So I want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you for joining me in this one. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this car goes together. I want to thank you guys again. Don't forget to check out the description box below, where you can see some links to my Twitch and my Instagram, my X channel. Every time I finish a project like this, I upload a bunch of pictures to my Instagram. So you can check out stuff that I've been building for the past 5 years or so, something like that. And yeah, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I'd really, really appreciate that. And leave a comment too down below if you feel like it. I really love reading your guys' comments, so yeah, I encourage you. Leave a comment. Anyway, guys, I want to thank you again for watching, and we'll see you all in the next one.